El Colacho. First up is a ritual that looks so strange you might think it's a joke, but it's a very old tradition in the small Spanish village of Castrillo de Murcia. It's called El Colacho. It involves men dressed as the devil who jump over newborn babies. Yes, you heard that right. Every year on a special Sunday, babies born that year are placed on mattresses in the street. Then, men in bright red and yellow devil costumes, called the Colacho, run and jump right over the babies. So, why do they do this? People believe this scary act cleans the babies of original sin. When the Colacho jumps, he is said to take away their sins and evil spirits. This is believed to protect the children from sickness and bad luck. Before the jump, these devils run around the streets. They playfully hit people with a whip made from a horsetail. No one is sure how the festival started. It seems to be a mix of Catholic and older pagan beliefs from as far back as the 1620. The practice is controversial, but there are no official reports of babies getting hurt. But it's not surprising that the Catholic Church does not like it. A pope once told Spanish priests to stay away from the festival. The Church teaches that only baptism can clean away original sin. Because of safety worries and the Church's disapproval, this strange old festival is being questioned in today's world. Famadihana. Next, we go to Madagascar for a funeral tradition that is very different from Western ideas about death. It's called Famadihana, which means the turning of the bones. This isn't a sad funeral, it's a big, happy party where the dead are the guests of honor. Every 5 to 7 years, families go to their family tombs. They open the tombs, take out the bodies of their loved ones, and wrap them in new silk cloths. Then, family members lift the bodies onto their shoulders. They dance with them to live music in a celebration of life. This is not seen as a dark or scary thing. In the culture of Madagascar, it's believed that spirits can only join the ancestors after their bodies have completely broken down. Famadihana is a time to show love, tell the ancestors family news, and ask them for blessings. Women who want to have children might even take small pieces of the old burial cloth. They put it under their mattress, believing it will help them get pregnant. It feels very old, but Famadihana as we know it might have only started in the 1600s, but today, the tradition is facing challenges. The parties are very expensive. Also, some Christian groups are against it, so many people have stopped doing it. The government has also warned about health risks. They worry it could spread diseases like the plague and have banned digging up anyone who died from it. Capacocha. Now we look at the scary world of human sacrifice. This was a practice made perfect by the powerful Inca Empire in the Americas. It was called Capacocha, which means royal duty. This was not a messy, violent killing, it was a very organized ceremony across the empire. It ended with sacrificing the most physically perfect children the Inca could find. Children were chosen from all over the empire because they looked perfect. They were sent to the capital city, Cusco. They were not slaves. They were the honored children of local leaders or special girls known as Virgins of the Sunday. For up to a year, they were treated like kings and queens. They were fed much better food. Their final journey was a long trip, sometimes for hundreds of miles. They walked to the top of a high mountain that the Inca believed was holy. The children were given coca leaves to chew and an alcoholic corn drink called chicha. This helped them with the high altitude and the ceremony. Scientists studied the famous Lulayaco maiden. She was a 13-year-old girl found perfectly saved on a volcano. They found that she had a lot more of these two things in the last weeks of her life. It's believed these were used to make the children sleepy. They were then killed by a hit to the head, choked, or buried alive to die from the cold. The cold mountain air then naturally turned their bodies into mummies. The Inca believed these perfect children did not really die. They thought they became like gods who watched over their people from the mountains. This large state-run practice was stopped after the Spanish took over. The Spanish disrupted the Inca Empire and their religion, the Wicker Man. Next is one of the most famous and scary images of a pagan ritual, the Wicker Man. We know this story mainly from one person, the Roman general Julius Caesar. While he was fighting in Gaul, which is now France, Caesar wrote about the Celtic priests, who were called Druids. He described a very scary sight, giant statues shaped like a man and made of woven branches. Caesar said these huge figures were filled with living men. Then, the whole thing was set on fire. He wrote that criminals were usually the ones sacrificed, but if there were no criminals left, the Druids would use innocent people. A Greek mapmaker named Strabo probably used the same story. He added that animals were sometimes burned inside too. For hundreds of years, this horrible image made people think the Celts were cruel savages. But here's the question, did it really happen? The truth is, we don't know for sure. It's important to remember that Caesar was writing about his enemies. Calling them barbarians who burned people alive was great propaganda. Even today, scientists have never found any real proof of a Wicker Man. There is some proof that the Celts practiced human sacrifice, but it was not common, and there's no proof they used this burning method. Carthage. Here is a ritual that was so famous in the ancient world it was used as propaganda. But unlike the Wicker Man, this one has scary proof from archaeologists to support it. We're talking about the sacrifice of babies in ancient Carthage. The city of Carthage, in modern-day Tunisia, was the biggest enemy of Rome. Ancient writers, mostly Romans and Greeks, described the religion of Carthage as something awful. They said that when things were bad, the rich and powerful would sacrifice their own children to the gods, Baal Hamon and Tanit. One historian described a giant bronze statue of a god. Its hands were stretched out and would roll a baby into a fire pit below. For a long time, modern historians thought these stories were just lies. They thought it was propaganda made up by Carthage's enemies. Then, archaeologists found special cemeteries called tophets. They contained thousands of small pots called urns. Inside these urns were the burned bones of newborn babies, some only a few weeks old. There were also young animals. The tophet in Carthage is thought to hold the urns of as many as 20,000 babies. People still argue about it. Some experts say these are just cemeteries for babies who died from normal causes. They point out that the Roman and Greek writers were enemies of Carthage. But a lot of evidence now shows the sacrifices were real. Many urns have stone markers with writing on them that thank the gods. This cruel tradition finally disappeared after Rome defeated and destroyed the city in 146 BC, and their culture was wiped out. It's crazy to think about how different the world used to be, right? If you think these rituals are as interesting as we do, please hit that subscribe button. We talk about strange history like this every week, and you don't want to miss our next video.